I'm Steve Atkinson. I'm just going to give you a demonstration of a man-in-a-browser attack and also how this doesn't apply to the SentryBay Armored Client for Citrix. So a man-in-a-browser attack intercepts the browser's API calls and extracts the data in clear text before it actually gets to the network socket layer, at which point it would normally be encrypted using SSL. Also, keyloggers will not actually log usernames and passwords if they've been saved in the browser or when a third-party password manager such as KeepPass is in use. The man-in-a-browser attack will actually be able to see this data in clear text though. And this is why really we should always use two-factor authentication, particularly with Citrix gateways that are accessible from the internet. The actual Firefox attack I'm going to show you works like this. Firefox actually uses a function called PR_write inside a DLL module called NSS3.dll, which is used to write and submit data. So in this case, once the user enters the username and password and then clicks the login button, the Firefox process will call the PR_write function from the DLL. And what we're going to do is actually, in the exploit that I've written, we set a breakpoint at the PR_write function, and then actually we're able to see the data in clear text regardless of how it's been entered. And then just discreetly write the data out to the file system on the target machine. And also in a real world, I'd actually hide the console window, but I've left that running just for demonstration purposes. So let's see the demonstration. So I've got a couple of virtual machines to show you this. Okay, so what I've got here is a Windows 10 machine that's been fully patched. It's also running Norton antivirus, which is up to date. The exploit I've written is done in Python, and I've used a py2exe to make it into an executable. It's important to note I haven't made any attempts to actually encrypt the contents of the exploit or hide it in any other way. If I scan this using Norton Security locally, there's no threats found. And also, if I open up my browser, I've already submitted it to VirusTotal, and there's only 2 of 56 products that have actually seen this as a risk, which is also rather worrying. Okay, so just before I log on to my gateway, I'll launch the attack. And as I said earlier, the console window will run, but it'll be hidden in the real world. And then when I log on, it's closed down, and it's actually written out a text file to the same location as where I run it from. And if we see in there, we can see that it's clearly dumped the username test2 and the password being secret PW. So now, just to show you it working against the SentryBay Armored Client, if I go to my actual developer machine, we'll actually run it from within Python. So I've got an Armored Client running, and you'll see that it's running rather than Firefox.exe, it runs as Armored Client.exe, so I have to amend my script accordingly. And when I actually run it, I can see that it actually gets it sees the process ID of the Armored Client as being Firefox, which is 1424. But because even though I'm running it as a local administrator account, we don't have any permissions to run as the SAS user, so we simply can't actually do a process hook in that context. And you can see where we've actually been denied, access denied. So that is the actual demonstration. So other types of man-in-a-browser attacks, it's very easy to harvest safe credentials from Firefox, Chrome, or any other browser for that matter, using various techniques, including Python. These do not really apply to the SentryBay Armored Client for Citrix or Armored Browser. We don't allow credentials to be saved full stop, and any of those exploits simply wouldn't have permissions. So that concludes the short demonstration. If you want any further information, please contact Fireserve. Thank you.